Turn to the diplomacy with North Korea. Meanwhile, North Korean leader Kim Jong Un landing in Beijing this morning to meet with Xi Jinping. Chinese state media is reporting that President Xi promised China's friendship with North Korea will never change. Joining me right now is retired four-star General Jack Keane, a Fox News senior strategic analyst. General, it's great to see you this morning. Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, good to see you, Maria.
So what do you think, as Kim Jong Un's third trip to China this year, scheduled just 1 week after his meeting with President Trump, are China and North Korea signaling a message to the U.S. by getting even tighter and closer?
Well, I think this is just largely the fact that China wants to make certain that North Korea stays in their orbit and they don't fall under the orbit of the United States unduly. Listen, President Xi understands, Maria, that Kim Jong Un is not his grandfather or his father. He started this diplomatic blitz around the Olympics. That was just 4 months ago. And since that time, he's had 6 meetings with national leaders, 3, as you mentioned, with Chinese, 2 with the South Koreans, and also President Trump. This is really quite extraordinary. He had no meetings since he took over 5+ years ago with any national leader. So we clearly are dealing with somebody who I believe is clearly sending all the signals that he does want change.
Yeah.
And I think Kim Jong-un is there meeting with Xi at Xi's request, making certain that he understands exactly where this youngster is going. You know, lay down for me again what actually took place at the summit, what promises did you make? I mean, obviously, Pompeo has briefed the Chinese, but he wants to get it from Kim Jong-un. He wants to look in his eyes and make certain that he's on the right path here.
So you think that change that Kim Jong-un is adopting is going to include denuclearization? I mean, is it that significant a change in mentality?
Certainly the fact that he's committing to that and signed a paper, I think in itself, while that has been done in the past and they've never come through, given everything else that's going on around this young leader,
right,
I think there's some change coming. Now, at the end of the day, is it likely he would probably want to hold on to some of his nuclear capability, conceal that from us? Probably so. We're going to know here pretty soon because, you know, what happens is we know where most of their nuclear facilities are and their ballistic missiles, but we don't know where all of it is.
I see.
They're going to have to voluntarily give that to us, Maria. And when we see the details of that, we'll know if they're telling us the truth or not, because we're going to know some of it is right, and if some of it's wrong, we can challenge them on it.
What is your take about the suspension of the August war games with South Korea? North Korea and China have long viewed these military exercises as quite provocative. But then after the president says we're going to suspend them, a lot of debate about readiness. Should we be suspending these military exercises? What do you think about the president's pledge to end them?
Well, first of all, the training that goes on among the South Korean military and the United States military every single day are not affected by this. The regular individual collective training that's being done is going to continue. This exercise is largely what we refer to in the military, Maria, command post exercise, largely without maneuver troops. It's done for the headquarters to practice the decision-making process that involves a campaign of war. And then they're assessed and evaluated on that. We do another one in the spring where we bring all the troops together, air power, and the rest of it. That exercise has not, the second one has not been suspended. He's canceled this first one or suspended it based on good faith by the North Koreans, and it's condition-based. I'm not as concerned about it as some others. I don't believe that combined arms training between South Korea and North Korea is going to go down the tube because of one command post exercise that we're not going to do.
Yeah.
But in a few months, Maria, we're going to have an answer whether these guys are serious about the communique that they signed with President Trump.
Yeah.
Probably not enough time to put that exercise back on the burner, but certainly not to suspend anymore. And I totally disagree with the thought of reducing our troops in South Korea. We shouldn't even have a discussion of that until they have voluntarily given up their missiles and their nuclear weapons.
Yeah, I sort of expected you to say that. That's been a debate as well. Let me ask you, General, we're watching this market sell off today. The market is down 300+ points on the Dow Jones Industrial Average because the president has asked the U.S. Trade Representative, Mr. Lighthizer, to identify $200 billion of additional products that could be tariffed at 10% coming out of China. Markets are worried about this. How do you see it?
Well, I just think it's high time that somebody pushed back on the economic warfare and economic aggression that China has been using globally, not just in their region, but around the world. And the United States is standing up to that.
Yeah.
And this imbalance we have, I think it's worth doing something about, and it's certainly worth taking on the intellectual property theft that's been going on, the greatest transfer of wealth from one country to another in the history of the planet.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to come to a halt. I'm in agreement with the president. We've got to do something about the fairness of this and stop taking this the way we have been doing. And certainly there's some risk involved here, and the advisors he has around him know more about that economic risk than I do in terms of financial markets and what it may do to the engine of the economy.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I wrote a whole op-ed on it. The crown jewels are the most important for China, and you know, they want our crown jewels, they want our technology. Yeah. But the question is tariffs the way to do it? I don't know what else, what other tools the administration has, but certainly this is an aggressive one. We'll be watching it. General, it's always wonderful to see you. Come back soon, please.
Okay, Maria.
General
take care.
Jack Keane joining us.